From the banks of the Mississippi to the peaks of the Smokies, this is the home field of champions.
Andre Holloway to Stanley Morgan. And Goff holds it down. Nobody can catch it. Reggie White penetrated. Touchdown, Heath Stewart. James Stewart. Manning on the neck and handoff. Peerless fight. Travis Henry scores for Tennessee.
More than 75 years of broadcast excellence. We are the Vol Network. What happened this weekend? What lies ahead? Analysis and insight from the inside. This is Big Orange. Rewind.
Presented by Calhoun's, a taste of Tennessee. Calhoun's is the perfect place to rewind after every Tennessee game.
This is Big Orange Rewind. With the voice of the Vols, Mike Keith, and VolQuest.com's Brent Hubbs.
Yes. Tennessee with an exciting victory over Arkansas, 34-31. We begin this edition of Big Orange Rewind with the Rackley Roofing Recap, a breakdown of Tennessee's game against Arkansas presented by Rackley Roofing, transforming the roofing industry with unmatched customer service, detailed documentation, and the highest safety standards. Rackley Roofing, the proud official roofer of the Tennessee Volunteers. Brent Hubbs, it was not easy at Neyland Stadium. I don't think anybody really expected it to be because Arkansas was going to come in and give you everything they had. They always do when they play Tennessee. But the Vols had enough to get by 3. Overall reaction to the win.
Well, you never take winning for granted, and you never look winning as some kind of negative in any way. So you survive and advance to the next one. Now, is what you did good enough yesterday to win on the road in Tuscaloosa? And that's what we'll talk about over the next 2 hours. But when you talk about the win, Tennessee knew they were going to get Arkansas's best shot. You wanted to get off to a fast start. You did offensively, but defensively you didn't. You gave up that opening score. And the more Arkansas stayed in the game, the more Arkansas was going to play. And typically when a team has an interim head coach, there's one of two ways they go. They either play really, really hard for him or they completely lay down. And clearly Arkansas did not lay down. They played hard yesterday, on the edge of kind of out of control and chippy at times, but they played hard. Tennessee ran the football well, did what they needed to do offensively. If you had finished the game in the fourth quarter defensively with any kind of better outcome and not giving up those 2 late scores, I think you feel a lot differently about this. You're talking about all the great halftime adjustments you made. You really took control of the football game and you put it away. But those 2 scores late that Arkansas put on the board to make it a 3-point game leave a pretty bitter taste in your mouth, I think, as you get ready to turn the page towards Alabama.
Well, because defensively, at the 5 sacks, the 9 tackles for loss, the 3 takeaways. At one point in the game, Arkansas went over 26 minutes between scores, so nearly 2 quarters they went without scoring. If you continue that out to the end and they go the last 35 minutes without scoring, thus being shut out in the second half, again, I think to your point, you're saying adjustment-wise, you did good things. You made enough big plays. But the first drive in the fourth quarter is bothersome. At least, however, it took nearly 5 minutes off the clock. You made them go the long, hard way. I think it's the second drive that really bothers you if you're Tennessee.
Yeah, you can't give up a 30-yard seam. I mean, basically,
on the first
play, you can't do that. You can't lose somebody on a crosser for 20 yards. But they got 50 yards in 2 snaps. You can't have those mistakes, and that's what Josh Heupel was talking about post game. It's what he talked to us about on the Vol Network post game. Is we just got to clean it up. We've just got to be more sound defensively. Our eyes have to be in better places. You have to understand down and distance and play the game the right way at different points in time. And Tennessee didn't do that. I mean, 80 yards and 7 plays and a minute 56 off the clock is not how you're supposed to finish a game when you got a 10-point lead and you're just trying to get to the finish line. You don't want them to score at all, but if they do score, you want them to have to use timeouts, Mike. You want them to sit there and be thinking, okay, do we need to kick the field goal here to cut it to 7 and then go onside kick? You don't want to let them score in 2 minutes and then you're trying to figure out a way to bleed the last 4 minutes off the clock.
Well, and in that situation, too, I mean, they had a 3rd and 10 at the 12.
Mm-hmm.
that was where the touchdown pass came.
Right.
So if you're in that situation and you get off the field on 3rd down and 10, then you do make them at least kick at the field goal.
Right.
They've still got to make it, but they would be kicking at the field goal at that point. You would think in those situations when they're at the 12, they're going to basically take 3 shots into the end zone because they don't want to take any more time off the clock.
Correct.
They want to run 3 plays and either get 7 points or 3 points.
Yes.
So you got to know they're going to be trying to throw into the end zone there. They're not really as interested in picking up the first down.
Right. And the first down was going to be at the 2.
Right.
I mean, or inside the 2. So, I mean, you're going to take 2 more steps and be in the end zone is the route you're running. You're not going to run that straight to the sticks. You're running to the end zone is where you're running to. Again, some awareness needs to be better there. The other thing that's problematic when you look at this is Tennessee's giving up too many 3rd and long conversions. Teams are converting almost 40%. Power 4 teams are converting almost 40% of 3rd and 4th down plays with a yard to gain at 7 yards or more. And that's a stat that's too high. You need to be better. It needs to be harder for teams to convert 3rd and long on you than what it's been to this point in the season. That's where Tennessee's got to improve.
Well, here are the 3rd downs. Arkansas had 7 of 13 3rd down conversions. Their first one was 3rd and 6. They completed the 5-yard pass. They took a look at replay to see if the receiver had the first down. He didn't. They had 4th and inches, and so they convert the 4th down play. In essence, that's a conversion.
Mm-hmm.
Then they converted 4th and 6. They failed on 4th and 4. They converted 3rd and 9, 3rd and 6, failed on 3rd and 17, converted 3rd and 8, converted 3rd and 10, failed on 3rd and 2. That was the sequence in the 3rd quarter where they lost a yard, chose to go for it, and then didn't make it on the 4th down. They failed on 3rd and 8. They failed and lost a fumble on 3rd and 31. And then at the end of the ball game, converted 3rd and 9 and converted 3rd and 10.
Yeah. And that's the problem. That's the problem. There's too many of the 3rd and longs in there that are conversions where they're being able to move the sticks. And it's been problematic for Tennessee throughout the year. And that's where Tennessee's got to get better. It's a little bit feast or famine. If the pressure gets there, then they're getting sacks. If they don't get the pressure there, when they're playing zone coverage on the back end, then there are holes to be found and there are windows that are too big to throw the ball in, and quarterbacks are having success doing that.
Tennessee converted just 2 of 9 on 3rd downs. Their 2 conversions on their first field goal drive to tie the game at 10. They converted a 3rd and 10 at the Arkansas 34, Aguilar to Staley for plus 15. And then the other 3rd down conversion was 3rd and 1 at the Arkansas 38, Peyton Lewis for 7 yards, picking up the first down to salt away the game.
And hey, how about a tip of the cap to Carson Gentle on that play for that first
Defensive
down?
end number 35? On offense?
He absolutely hammered the defensive end and drove him. I mean, that defensive end was on his back at the end of that play underneath the pile because Carson Gentle absolutely pancaked him. He and Miles Kitselman. Kitselman got his guy on the outside. Carson Gentle got Kitselman got the outside backer. Carson Gentle got the defensive end. And Peyton Lewis said, I would run right behind these 2 guys and got a first down. Good run by Peyton Lewis, but big play by Carson Gentle. An absolute pancake.
Peyton Lewis, 8 carries, 33 yards, 2 touchdowns, 4.1 a carry. Doesn't exactly blow you away on the stats. Felt like an important night for Peyton Lewis.
I think it was. And I think what you're seeing with Peyton Lewis is I think the game is slowing down for him a little bit. I think he's sort of settling in. I think there's been points in time, Mike, where he's been pressing and trying to do too much because you don't know when your next series is going to come. You know you're going to get the 3rd one, so you got to do something with the 3rd one, and I think that he has not been patient enough. Ramon Foster's talked about this on the broadcast about let your linemen get out in front of you. Give yourself a better chance on a play there. The other thing Peyton Lewis did, Peyton Lewis was completely dialed in really, really well yesterday. He picked up a couple of key blocks that were needed. You go back and look at Joey Aguilar's 28-yard run. He's the guy who gets the kick-out block for Aguilar to get the 28-yard run on that drive. And here's where I like what Peyton Lewis did on that kick-out block. He didn't lunge at him. He didn't race to him. He didn't drop his head. He squared him up. He He was exactly the way you wanted to be there, in perfect position, gets the kick out. Aguilar reads it and turns it upfield for the game. And that changed everything because Arkansas's got to use a timeout there, even though Tennessee made a first down. And you've got clock in your favor from that point on, and you're at midfield. So you flip the field. Even if you had to punt, Arkansas with no timeouts was going to have to go the long field, as opposed to you go 3 and out and you're punting from your own 25-yard line or 28-yard line. Then you're in a very different situation there. So that was a huge play. Great block by Peyton Lewis on the run by Aguilar.
So it gave you the 2 third-down conversions for the Vols, one in the second quarter, one in the fourth. They failed to convert, and this is not in any order. This is actually going backwards. 3rd and 3, a 3rd and 5. They had a situation where they got it to 4th and 1, but ended up having a penalty, and so they ended up having to punt after that. 3rd and 12, 3rd and 25, 3rd and 12, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 6. They've been very good on third down.
Yeah, but you got to be more ahead of the sticks there. You got to be in a better position. There's too many long yardage plays that you're needing on third down there.
Fortunately for the Vols, the game did not come down to third down.
That's right.
Because overall, they were able to get the 3 takeaways and the 4th down stop in the third quarter, which I think you've accurately said was like a 4th takeaway.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be honest with you, I think that was one of the key moments of the game. Bobby Petrino, with 6:06 to go in the third quarter, using a timeout. So one of his 3 timeouts is gone at the end when he could have had a shot. I mean, if they had stopped Peyton Lewis on 3rd and 1 and they'd had a timeout there, they would have still had a shot, but they'd obviously used up that timeout. He made up the first down, but it gave you less to play with in that situation. So 1, he uses a timeout. 2, on 3rd and 2, he loses close to 2 yards. It was listed as 4th and 3. It was closer to 4th and 4. He chooses not to try the field goal. He chooses to go for it. They don't make it. So they don't come away in that sequence with any points. They give Tennessee a little bit of momentum and a little bit of confidence there. And boy, would they have liked to have had those points back at the end. Not as much because it ended up being a 3-point game, which is the obvious, but because if you go into the middle of the fourth quarter down 2 scores instead of 3 scores, you change the game dramatically.
No question.
If you kick the field goal, if you just run the kicker out there, you don't use the timeout, you don't fiddle with it, you run the kicker out, you kick the 43-yard field goal. It's 20-20, and you keep playing the game. Instead, you're behind, and then you fall behind 27-17 and 34-17.
Yeah, I think you're seeing a lot of coaches, and offensive coaches do this a lot. They chase a lot of points. They get into their analytics and don't necessarily think about it from a feel standpoint. Florida did this last night. They're down 7. They've got 4th and 6 at midfield, and they go for it. And there's 12 minutes to go in the game. Just keep playing the game. And I think in that scenario, Bobby Petrino, probably looking back on it, wishes he would have kept playing the game. Try to make the field goal. If you make it, you tie the score. All you're doing is creating more angst in the stadium.
All the pressure's on Tennessee.
Absolutely.
And if you're 20-20 at that point, then people are getting more restless, then you're more into it. I was surprised because that seemed like a moment that you just, it's like Kirby Smart in the game here in September. Chose to kick the short field goal at the end of the first half when everybody thought he was going to go for it, chose to take the points and say, okay, we've got more game to play. Turned out that was a smart decision on his part.
Yeah, not every game is going to be 44-41.
Right.
So don't play every game like it's 44-41. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you can get 3 points and you think, maybe he didn't have any trust in his field goal kicker. If he does, don't call a timeout. Run a play.
Well, that's it.
Whatever you're going to do. Make it. You should already have an idea what you're going to do there and go for it. But, yeah, I thought that was a key moment. Tennessee took full advantage of it. They went down and scored a touchdown, and then the next possession is the turnover. And Tennessee turns that into a quick 7 points after the Joshua Joseph turnover that took place there. So it's one of those things where sometimes you just got to keep playing the game, extend it out a little bit further, and not make those decisions at that point. Just keep playing.
I think one of the other parts of yesterday or of the game, to me, is that Arkansas is really good on offense. They're really, really good. The quarterback is special.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a really good player.
I mean, first of all, he's really big. He's long. He can really move. He throws it pretty well, and I don't know if he's ever going to be a pocket passer. Maybe he will be at some point. But with that height and being able to see the field the way he can in that offense, in the type of offense people run today, because nowadays that offense lends itself to the 5'11", 6 feet, 6'1" quarterback, but you still love to have the big guy who can see, and then the big guy who can run. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I'm surprised they don't true RPO more than what they do. Some easier throws, or they hit the tight end on a true RPO play. Mm-hmm. I'm surprised they don't do
a touchdown.
More. Yeah, I'm surprised they don't do more of that, because you spent the whole week planning, and you're talking to all your people about edges and get to the edges, stay on the outside, don't get caught inside because you can't give up a soft corner. I'm just surprised they don't run a little more, because I don't know that he's the most skilled guy in the pocket on a 7-step drop or a 5-step drop. So to play to his advantage, to me, would be more RPO stuff. Easier throws, slants, some stuff in vacated areas in the RPO game. I'm a little bit surprised they don't do that. But I tell you what, he is a handful when the play breaks down, because it looks like he's gliding and he's covered about 7 yards and a step and a half, and all of a sudden now you look up and he's 35 yards downfield.
I think they'll beat somebody before the year's over.
We'll see.
I think they'll get somebody because of him, and because I don't think they're as bad on defense. They tried to simplify everything. They did play some better defense against Tennessee than what they've been doing. Didn't give up as many touchdowns. I think they're a little more dangerous than what people will give them credit for being, because that's their whole thought, is they want to play faster by simplifying the offense and defense.
Does he get the effort he got out of that team yesterday the rest of the year?
That's fair.
Because you circle the wagons for the first one, right?
Oh,
it's us against the world.
Well, you're going to get – I mean, listen, they came in – they wanted a street fight.
Oh, yeah.
That was the whole thing, is he clearly went to them and said some sort of version of, the whole world thinks we're all terrible.
Right.
The whole world thinks we're all losers. Nobody wants any of us. So the only people that believe are us. So they came out and they wanted to pick fights.
Right.
That was the type of game that they were going to play, is they were coming out with that whole chip on their shoulder. So yes, I think you ask a fair question, but I think from a talent standpoint,
I don't disagree with you.
I think from a talent standpoint, they are superior offensively to Mississippi State, and they've got some people on defense that can make some things happen too. We'll see, but just in watching what they were able to do. Hey, listen, the back opened his mouth. Mike Washington, he backed it up.
Yeah, he did. There's no doubt about that. I mean, you can't say he didn't do that.
I mean, he's a big back who can go, and with the quarterback and with some of the things with the offensive line, Blake is a good receiver. Jones is a nice receiver. Shanks and Sharp can play. I mean, they've got a few guys. So, I think you're taken aback by giving up, so many total yards, 496 yards. And I think that's very disappointing. I think the last two drives were obviously disappointing. But, you just get a sense that there are a few guys that play for Arkansas, with all the transfers they had and everything they tried to do. We'll see if they can pull it together. I have a hunch they will.
Yeah, if they have the talent to score enough to play with somebody and to pull off an upset. They got A&M at home. Are they going to beat A&M? I probably don't think so. I think A&M's salty on defense. But if the quarterback gets hot, and we know A&M can be a little bit erratic offensively, they get Auburn at home. They get Mississippi State at home. They got to go to LSU, but that's going to be an early game in Baton Rouge, which is a help. Then they've got Texas on the road, and then they host Missouri to finish. which is a night game. Can you – again, I think talent-wise, with what they can do offensively, given what they've put up against everybody they played, with the exception of Notre Dame, where they clearly quit in that football game, in my opinion.
And that was a 14-10 game at one point that was – and then they just fell apart.
It completely – when it went south, they went completely done, which is what you thought if you could jump on them yesterday, maybe that would happen again.
Right.
But because you had the us against the world mindset, you didn't get that done, and they played with a chip and an edge about them. If he can continue to get that, yes, their offense can give you a chance to pull an upset. But the question I wonder is just, can he keep them on that kind of edge week in and week out?
He's a good football coach. I mean, nobody will deny that he certainly had success. He had his team prepared, unquestionably. Mm-hmm. And I'd say he will keep them prepared. The motivation, I think that's a fair question because, you know, if it's going south and you know Bobby Petrino's not going to be your next head coach and you know that you potentially are thinking about another spot or the next level, then it changes.
Yep. And everybody's phone's going to start ringing here real soon.
As it has today and will, tomorrow and the next day and the next day all over college football because of what all has happened.
Yeah. I mean, there is no waiting till anything has happened. So right now there are coaches looking for jobs and there's players looking for schools.
That's the Rackley Roofing Recap, a breakdown of Tennessee's 34-31 win over Arkansas, presented by Rackley Roofing, transforming the roofing industry with unmatched customer service, detailed documentation, and the highest safety standards. Rackley Roofing, the proud official roofer of the Tennessee Volunteers. Your questions on the text line. We'll get a bunch of them in our next segment for Brent Hubbs at 865-657-1278, 865-657-1278. Big Orange Rewind, presented by Calhoun's.
Big Orange Rewind.
Sponsored by First Horizon. Big bank muscle, small bank hustle. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Tennessee. Complete coverage for every phase of life.
By the natural gas utilities and pipeline companies in Tennessee.
Natural gas.
Pilot, the official travel stop of the Vols. See you out here. RJV Kubota, with 2 convenient locations in Knoxville and Nashville. And by Ford. Visit your local Ford dealer, proud sponsor of the Tennessee Volunteers.
Vol Nation, if you're looking for quality performance apparel, look no further than Turtleson. Founded by UT alumni out of Bristol, Tennessee, Turtleson designs clothes and accessories that fit your lifestyle. From the office to the country club or the Tennessee Volunteers tailgate, Turtleson has the apparel that looks as good as it feels. Ask for Turtleson wherever you buy your volunteer gear or visit turtleson.com to learn more. Turtleson is a proud sponsor of the Vol Network. Go Vols!
It's football time in Tennessee, and that means it's time for Calhoun's. Whether you're headed to the game or watching from home, make Calhoun's your pregame, postgame, and every game headquarters. From hickory smoked pulled pork to the legendary ribs, juicy burgers, and mouthwatering brisket, Calhoun's delivers the flavor that fuels Big Orange fans. With 9 convenient East Tennessee locations, there's a Calhoun's near you. So gather your friends, wear your orange, and experience why they're the taste of Tennessee. Calhoun's, proud to serve Vol fans since 1983.
Here's a fresh twist on your typical banking options. What if, instead of choosing between a big bank or a small bank, you had one bank that's the best of both? Big bank muscle, small bank hustle. Big bank expertise and small bank savvy. All the resources to help you reach your dreams.
And the personal touch to keep you smiling all along the way. That's First Horizon Bank, the official bank of the Vols.
When getting the job done right is job one, you need construction equipment that's built right. From compact track loaders to the world's #1 selling compact excavator, the Kubota construction lineup features durable Kubota engines, more comfort, and the versatility to do it all and do it right. Visit your local Kubota dealer today. Go to KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
Visit RJV Kubota locally in Knoxville or Nashville. RJV Kubota, a proud supporter of the Vols. presented by Calhoun's. This is Big Orange Rewind.
Your questions at 865-657-1278. Start with Josh in Spring Hill. Wants to know, has this team been struggling with playing to the level of their opponent?
No, I think this team is struggling to do some of the little things that you're supposed to do and that you need to do. You know, the eye discipline and some of those things. I don't think it's a situation where Tennessee's flat. I just don't think they're executing as well as they need to. And you got to, as a coaching staff and players, you got to find out why. Are you asking them to do too much? Are you just simply not executing some simple things there? I don't feel like Tennessee's flat or playing down to their level. I just don't think they've played as clean a football as they need to play.
Matthew in Winston-Salem, I assume that's North Carolina, wants to know, refereeing is an issue all around the league. What are things you would do to help them out? For example, the ACC is letting you listen in during replay calls.
I love what the ACC's done because I love the transparency. I think in the world where everybody has a conspiracy theory that one set of everybody looks for every tie to whatever officiating crew there is. Where did he go to school? Did he have a brother-in-law that went to the school that you played and he was out to get you that way? So I do like.
Well, I mean, like in the SEC's case, aren't reviews done in Birmingham?
They are.
Okay, so that would lend theory to your
right,
because the SEC office is in Birmingham, which it always has been.
You know what? We had this discussion on the show last week or 2 weeks ago about what you can review every play or what you can and can't review. Do you put challenges in? What do you look at? I look at what happened yesterday in the Auburn-Georgia game with Kirby Smart calling a timeout.
Oh, no, he didn't.
Yes, I know.
No,
he clapped.
Didn't. He clapped. That was clapping.
Until they showed the replay, and then he called timeout on the replay.
You thought so?
Why can't you fix that is my point. Why can't you make those things fixable and get those things right?
Well, then what you would have to do, and listen, the SEC has a very broad-based replay. They look at everything. They do check on that first third down. They had a look to see whether or not Arkansas had gotten the ball across the 35-yard line. And, there were looks at other things as well. There were certainly looks at a couple of the fumbles that ended up being fumbles. Was the arm going forward? So was it an incomplete pass? I mean, I think it's good. But your point about why shouldn't you be able to look at whether or not Kirby Smart was calling the timeout? I mean, is that logical? Yeah. Yeah. And look, I mean, he clearly signaled timeout. We teased because he said he didn't, and then he wasn't charged.
And one official clearly saw it because he granted him a timeout.
Right.
And so you get together and you huddle, and it suddenly becomes a clap. Well, if you're unsure at that point, don't you say,
if we have a replay?
Hey, can somebody look and see if we've got a shot of this? Because one official says it was a timeout. He says it was a clap. The officials, I mean, my thing about this is with replay, and here's where I've always been with replay. I don't want 75 stoppages in play. I get all that. But when you can right a wrong, when you can fix a wrong, you can fix some mistakes that are not just straight, hey, that's a human element part of the game type deal. Let's fix it. Listen, my thing is, you go to the monitor for basketball 7 million times for a clock adjustment. We go to clock adjustment replays. How is that play any different than a clock adjustment replay that the officials buzz down and say, hey, fix the clock?
Because a basketball game's only 2 hours.
Well, even in football, they adjust the clock.
I understand that, but I'm saying I think there's more frequency. There are less people standing on the table to say the games are too long in basketball. College football games are way long.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think there is a fear that if you go to a more robust openness in replay, that games will go over 4 hours. The probably the best suggestion to your point, and I just want to see what you think of this, is essentially the sky judge theory. That is that you have somebody in the booth who's in the ear of the referee and says, you marked the ball wrong, move it. Instead, there was the ball marked wrong in the Mississippi State game,
Right.
where they threw the pass coming out of the end zone to Mike Matthews. He was clearly down at the 43, and they marked it at the 47. They had to stop play for that. Would you have been for it if an official is in the ear of the referee and says, you guys marked the ball wrong?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay, so you don't, but now remember, so let's go to the conspiracy theories. There's this fear about who is this guy judge? What's he doing? Where's he from? So then you get into the whole thing,
Sure.
like where the replay office is and who the umpire's first cousin's brother played at Mississippi State.
Right.
I get it. And that's the problem with that theory is whatever answer you bring in, you're bringing in another set of questions. But yeah, would you have sped it up a minute or two if you just have somebody buzz down to the referee and say, you got this wrong?
Well, I mean, yes, but all plays are supposedly reviewed, right?
But you have to go to review.
Right. But if you've clearly marked the ball wrong by 4 or 5 yards, again, a targeting call, let's get everybody on the headset and let's talk about it.
Right.
Let's look at it that way.
Needed to.
I get that. You can't buzz down and say, hey, you missed pass interference here, change the call there. But if it's an operational thing,
right?
If it's clock, if it's where the ball should be marked, if he called timeout or he clapped. I mean, if you can fix the operational errors through replay, to me, that's as beneficial as it is trying to correct a human element error that occurs because something's going really
But
fast.
do you want somebody who is not on the field to have that kind of juice?
You're saying if he's like back in Birmingham?
No,
in the
I'm
booth?
saying he's in the booth.
Yeah, I'm fine with him being in the booth. I'm fine
But
with
that
it.
is a fundamental change, Brent.
But that's what we're doing in New York in the NFL, right?
Well, we're not in the NFL,
I know,
Brent.
but hey, everything's moving towards the NFL life, right?
I don't think so.
I mean,
some of us are moving back.
But I think that's a fix. I think, respotting the ball.
Well, but I will tell you this. In the NFL, the Sky Judge thing still can't win all the popularity. And there's some thought, just to bring in a conspiracy theory, that they're doing this anyway in the NFL, that they're going, by the way, you marked that wrong. More so than that they're going, hey, you need to look back at this. That was, there's some thought about that they are already in the headsets offering more advice on certain things than what they should be.
Right, and I get it. And so
who's refereeing the game?
Right, because if you miss it by 4 yards, that's an easy fix, right? That's a pretty obvious. You missed it by 4 yards. But to your point, what happens of where you spotted the ball on the field live and somebody says, hey, no, you misspotted that ball, move it forward a foot, and it's a first down.
Right, sure.
That part, that's where your conspiracy comes in. And I get that.
All of it.
But I just think if we can fix operational errors, you should have a way to fix an operational error. I think we have to do a better job in the game of fix. I mean, you can't. I mean, you can't say you can't call timeout and then say I was clapping and get away with it.
He did.
I know, but you can't.
But he did.
But you shouldn't be able to.
But he did.
But you shouldn't. Agreed or not?
I
know he did, but should you be allowed to?
It's in terms of how the rules are right now.
So should you fix it?
Well, I mean,
should
sure.
you fix the rule?
For being able, again, I'm on the record and have said for basically 3/4 of my life, that's what it feels like, because I hate to be repetitive. I think everything should be reviewable. Now, I'm not saying you should have unlimited challenges, to make the game go on, but if Hugh Freeze wanted to say, there's a shot of him calling timeout, I want to challenge that. Or if the replay official who is on site saw that and said, no, he clearly called timeout, then you buzz down and say, no, coach, you call timeout. And
I'm with you. I'm with you there. However you got to go about that, fixing that, you need to have mechanisms in place to not have that kind of glaring mistake, that type of error. Again,
but you didn't even touch on the 10-to-1 ratio of calls Tennessee to Arkansas in terms of penalties in the game. Josh Heupel did.
Yes.
I loved how he did it. It was brilliant. It changes how you call the game. It changes how you coach the game.
It certainly changes it. Going back and looking at it, I don't know that you look at the penalties that were called against Tennessee and you say, well, how many of those were a bad call? I'm not sure there was a bunch of those in there that were bad calls. But when you look at it on the other side, only one.
Right.
There was only one. They didn't do anything else the entire day. As chippy as that game was, the way that game was played, there was only one.
Right.
So it's more about the ratio disparity more than it is, boy, Tennessee got called for too many flags.
Right.
It's Arkansas didn't get called for any flags.
Right.
And that, again, is my
Well,
issue
it becomes the point of if you're saying we're going to let them play, then let's let them play. And if it's we're going to call everything, then let's call everything.
Right, on both sides.
Right, that's the point.
And it felt like one side got to play more than the other side got to play.
I mean, David Smith's crew is well known to just let them play. They don't call many flags,
right,
or call many penalties. And this crew was well known for throwing flags.
They didn't throw them. I mean, down on the field yesterday, I mean, there were there was a lot of holding, a lot of grabbing, a lot of tackling, a lot of things going on that it just felt like one side got away with and the other didn't.
All right, Daryl in Camden wants to know what adjustments are needed to make the edge better. I guess he's talking for Tennessee's defense.
Yeah, I actually think in some cases they were better yesterday than they had been in the two previous games. It's just the problem with Saturday's game is when you miss one, Mike, it's a big one because of what the quarterback can do. It's unfair to blame the defensive ends or the Leo for all of those because you don't know. I don't know schematically what the call is. Who has edge containment there? Is that a linebacker that's supposed to wrap and have outside? Is that your nickel guy is supposed to have outside contain? I don't know everybody's call. I will say this. I think there have been some cases where Tennessee's ends have freelanced, and they've taken an inside path when your discipline and your eyes say you got to stay outside. And I think Tennessee's got to be better at that. Some guys have been better at that. Some guys have not been consistently as good at that as they need to be. They freelanced a little bit too much.
Don't you think we see that more in football overall now? And I wonder if it's not from the fact that teams don't practice as physically as they once did. It feels like with some of these bigger backs coming back into the college game, we've seen a bunch this year. You know, Washington's 228, Russell's 238, the quarterback's 235 for Arkansas. But when you practice day in, day out with pads on, you learned how to get your outside leverage, to keep that outside arm free, to set that edge, things like that. Teams don't hit that way in practice anymore. And I'm not talking about just Tennessee. No. I'm talking about everybody.
Right.
And it seems like teams are beginning to realize throughout college football, let's go back to some power. Let's go back to a little bit of physicality. I mean, because some of the run games that you're seeing, hey, Indiana, look at some of the run games you're seeing now. It's not leads per se the same way they once were. You know, it's not what Washington used to run with the Hogs, the counter tray, but there are more things towards power runs than there are the side-to-side runs. And I just wonder if Tennessee ran really well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Deshaun Bishop, 14 carries, 146 yards. And there were some outside bounces and some cuts and different things. Tennessee's backs are not as big as some, and yet there's still more power in college running games now. And I wonder if that's because of some of the defensive fundamentals aren't the same as they once were because you just don't have the ability to be as physical in practice. You just don't.
Yeah, I think there's probably some truth to that. I think the personnel's a little bit different too because you're not playing with bigger linebackers. You know, used to they would play the safety and bring them up to make them outside linebackers, but the inside linebacker, the box guy, was still a big guy. Now you're kind of light across the board at linebacker because you got to run. Everybody's playing with 5 DBs. You know, nobody's playing with a true 7-man box, you know, a 4-3 or a true 3-4. I mean, You're playing with this light guy who's trying to come downhill in the box. I think the other thing, too, with the edge guys, when you're rushing the passer really effectively and you kind of get into that rush the passer mode, I think sometimes it's easier to kind of get caught up in getting to the quarterback as opposed to, wait a minute, my responsibility is I've got to have outside leverage there. I think sometimes young players in particular are thinking sack, not for themselves, but they're just thinking go make a big play.
Well,
so they freelance.
That's a good point, because the other thing, too, is all of these guys want to be Max Crosby, these got one of the Watt brothers or whatever rushing the passer, because that's where you make the money.
Right.
Nobody wants to be the 280-pound guy who sets the edge and does the blue-collar work that you really need in those kind of four-man systems in the old-school four-man defensive lines. It's a good point.
Well, and sometimes it's you take the path of least resistance because you think your speed you can get there. So what do? If that tackle opens up inside a little bit, I'm going to run. I'm not running the arc and trying to play outside leverage. I'll take the easier path in there, and I think I can get there. And then all of a sudden, the guy spits out, or you've gotten too far upfield and you create a gap, and the guy spits out that way.
Big Orange Rewind, presented by Calhoun's, taking your text questions at 865-657-1278.
It's football time in Tennessee, and Alumni Hall is the place to gear up for your Tennessee Vols. Shop the largest and newest selection of top brands like Nike, Columbia, Peter Millar, New Era, Yeti, and more. Mix and match champion tees, 2 for $38, and spend $150 to earn $10 Hall cash for your next visit. Shop AlumniHall.com. Visit Alumni Hall in Knoxville, Murfreesboro, Bristol, or Johnson City, or download their app. Alumni Hall, the ultimate volunteer shopping destination.
This is Mike Keith, and you're listening to the Ford F-150 Truck Highlight Show. Go Vols! The smart, powerful Ford F-150 turned in another championship caliber performance. Thanks to available Pro Power onboard and outstanding payload numbers, fans will be talking about this tailgate for years to come. For great offers on a new Ford F-150, see your local Ford dealer. Proud sponsor of Tennessee Athletics.
See owner's manual for important operating instructions.
A farm, a family, and a tradition of premium fresh sausage that's lasted almost a century. Using only the freshest ingredients and finest cuts of meat for flavor that is locked in instantly. Each bite of Swaggerty's Farm sausage transports you back to a warm, cozy southern kitchen, leaving you satisfied and ready to take on the day. Swaggerty's Farm, quite possibly the best tasting sausage in America. Now available at your local retailers.
Rackley Roofing is now the official roofer of the Vols, and Rackley is more than a roofing company. They're part of the communities where they work and live, investing in neighborhoods and opening doors to a career in an industry that's growing year after year. Rackley Roofing's mission is clear: transform the roofing industry with unmatched customer service, detailed documentation, and the highest safety standards. Because Rackley believes the ladder to a great roof is only as good as the people who climb it. Rackley Roofing, building roofs, building future.
A look back and what's next. Big Orange Rewind, presented by Calhoun's.
So glad you're with us for the questions for Brent Hubbs and me, Mike Keith, at 865-657-1278. Here's one. Any update on the status of the umpire who was injured early in the game?
He returned to the game and worked the rest of the ball game. Actually came back in middle of the late second quarter. He got back
Trenton Crawford.
And
was it an ear injury?
Yeah, it busted his earpiece. He took a helmet right to his ear, busted up his earpiece, and cut his ear. They actually took some cotton swabs and tried to get the bleeding to stop in his ear, and they did, and they packed the ear, and he went into the locker room for just a minute. Then he came back out and said, "Hey, I'm good to go." But he got walloped right square side on the head and cut it at his ear. So he was dealing with a bleeding issue there. I'm sure his head's hurting today and his ear's really sore because he took a big old hit. But he did work the second half.
Jason in Knoxville wants to know, there have been many discussions among fans on social media about the way the end zone is planted now versus how it was planted when artificial turf was in place. Back in the 90s, the orange paint went all the way to the boundary, but now there's a section of green grass across the checkerboards. I'm of the opinion that more orange is a good thing, so my question is twofold. Are there any NCAA or SEC rules that prevent us from painting the end zones all the way to the boundary? If there's no rule against it, what would it take to bring this tradition back?
It's to my understanding there's no rule unless you're using a light-colored paint. Now, that may have changed because there is some rules that you can't take your sideline paint, I don't think, as far down as you once could. So maybe there's a rule preventing. I think one of the issues with that is when they paint the checkerboards, they paint white and then they paint orange over top of the white. So they paint the whole checkerboard basically white, and then they paint a second coat on it. That's a lot of paint on that grass. It kills grass. And so I think one of the concerns has always been kind of the durability of the grass there too.
This actually started, Jason, back in the 90s because they had the checkerboard all the way to the goal line. Officials had difficulty because the checkerboard, the white part, blended into the goal line, right, and then to the back end line and things like that. So they wanted separation so that there would be green around the various lines so that you could see them more clearly.
Now, on the old turf, if I'm not mistaken, was there not basically an orange border?
There was after not initially, but that eventually became the fact.
So, I don't know that you want to paint that much orange and for the durability of the grass, but I know that a lot of people like that turf look when it was all color in there and there was no green to be seen.
More of your questions coming up at 865-657-1278, presented by Calhoun's. This is the Vol Network's Big Orange Rewind.
Vol fans, ready to score big on your next home? Clayton Homes, Oakwood Homes, and Love Homes are proud sponsors of Tennessee Athletics and proud to help you find your dream home. Whether you're a first-time buyer or looking for your forever home, their teams across Tennessee have your back. With 29 locations statewide and Energy Smart Homes designed for year-round savings and a lifetime of comfort, it's never been easier to make the move. Stop by today and see why so many families and Vol fans trust Clayton, Oakwood, and Love Homes to turn home ownership into a win.
Vol Nation, it's Coach Heupel. You know, every time I step out on Shields-Watkins Field, I'm reminded once again why it's great to be a Tennessee Vol. The storied history, the cherished tradition, the past, the future. As the official travel stop of the Vols, Pilot has made it their mission to ensure that the home of the Vols is preserved with pride for generations to come. Neyland Stadium, preserved by Pilot. See you out here.
UT fans know it takes teamwork to win. And when you choose Blue Cross Blue Shield of Tennessee, you get a team who served Tennesseans for 80 years. From babies to seniors, big needs to small, we offer health coverage that fits your life and your budget. All from a company right here in your community. Now that's what we call a big win. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Tennessee.
Tennessee fans, your game day isn't complete without Calhoun's. Whether you're inside Neyland Stadium for the game or tailgating on campus or at home, Calhoun's has you covered with shareable small bites, family feed packs, and party platters. Imagine your tailgate piled high with hickory smoked ribs, tender pulled pork, and that famous barbecue chicken. The best of Tennessee on one plate. Call ahead or order online and make your game day legendary. Calhoun's, a taste of Tennessee.
The Big Orange Rewind continues, presented by Calhoun's.
Trent Bray has been fired as the head coach at Oregon State after the Beavers start the season 0-7. Trent Dilfer has been fired as the head coach at UAB. Tennessee saw them back on September the 20th. Most shockingly, after 3 straight losses, Penn State has let go 12-year head coach James Franklin and will now begin their search for the next head coach of the Nittany Lions.
Yeah, certainly a message, Mike, to a lot of coaches around the country about how quickly things can change. That's a nearly $50 million buyout Penn State is going to take on to make this move here. James Franklin finishes 15 and 28 against ranked opponents, 4 and 20 against top 10 opponents in his tenure at Penn State. They were ranked second in the country 4 weeks ago, and out of a job now. You wonder what all has gone on there. He's flirted with other jobs before. You just, for whatever reason, the administration said, we've seen enough. We're going to go. Maybe he's lost that team, lost the locker room, but for whatever reason, that's a pretty quick hook for a hefty buyout for a guy who's been successful at Penn State.
You would figure he's lost his athletic director and probably lost a lot of the major donors.
Yeah, one would think so. To make that move at this point, obviously that was a pretty lifeless loss to Northwestern yesterday. Offensively, they're in a big-time struggle there. Will be interesting to see who wants that job, what direction they want to go for that job, how many people pursue it, what exactly is Penn State looking for. That's a big one that could send some ripple effects through college football.
Weren't they 3 points away from playing for the national championship last year?
Mm-hmm. And brought a lot of people back.
Last year.
Yeah, brought a lot of people back too.
10 months ago.
Mm-hmm. The windows open and close very quickly.
That is very true. Big Orange Rewind. Your questions for Brent Hubbs at 865-657-1278.
Miss any of today's Rewind? Catch the full podcast with Mike Keith and Brent Hubbs. UTSports.com. We are the Vol Network. Exclusive guest, insider analysis. You know what happened, find out why and how, and what happens next. This is Big Orange Rewind.
Presented by Calhoun's, a taste of Tennessee. Grab a taste after the next Tennessee game. Calhoun's.
It's Alabama week in Big Orange Country. Tennessee against Alabama. Saturday night, Bryant-Denny Stadium. Kickoff scheduled for 7:30. That usually means like 7:40 something, right? Or 7:50?
Yeah, it depends.
Ish.
So it depends how many slides we get in there.
Yes.
Ish, yeah.
Yeah, but somewhere in there.
Somewhere before 8.
Here's what we know.
They'll kick it before 8 Eastern. Let's put it that way. Yeah, it'll be before 8.
We think. We're pretty sure. What we do know is Tennessee and Alabama will be on the Vol Radio Network beginning with this man, Brent Hubbs, and Big Orange Countdown with Ramon Foster, Jason Swain, and Larry Stone starting at 5 Eastern, 4 Central. And we will kick somewhere between 7:30 and 8. Probably somewhere between 7:40 and 7:50.
Yeah, I like that.
Somewhere
in there.
Alabama is number 6 in both polls. Tennessee is number 11 in both polls. Both teams are 5-1. I don't know. Have you studied the Tennessee stats today? The through halfway through the season?
It's interesting because it's a reminder that
we're halfway through the season.
Well, but it's also a reminder that when it's your team and you're in it as deep as you're in it, you pick every scab and every wound.
Mm-hmm, sure.
When you look at the stats, you know what? They're doing a lot of good things. A lot of things are going okay.
All right, so Tennessee 528 yards per game, 210 rushing, 318 passing. They're thrown for the most yards in the conference. 50% third down conversions on the year. 3 of 3 on fourth down. Haven't gone a lot on fourth down.
Mm-mm.
Kind of a surprise.
Haven't had a lot of opportunities. Not been a lot of fourth and shorts.
25 touchdowns in 34 red zone trips. That's over 70%. Love to be around 80, but that's still good. 48.2 points per game, 29.3 points per game allowed. Defensively allowing 394 overall, 136 yards per game rushing, 258 yards per game passing. The opponents have scored 18 touchdowns in 23 red zone trips. Overall, 38% third down conversions, 9 of 14 on fourth down conversions. So a lot of fourth down tries for the opposition and 9 conversions. Tennessee averaging 7 penalties for 63 yards per game.
It's about their norm.
11.5 yards per punt return, 28.7 yards per kickoff return. That's misleading because they've only returned 3 kickoffs. Vols punt coverage, been good, 5.5 per punt return, 17.6 per kickoff return. Sacks, 26. Sacks allowed, 4. Turnover ratio, +2, 11 takeaways total. Then you look at Alabama, and this is really interesting. Very different. Alabama, 431 yards per game. Good. 127 rushing.
Which is, well, now they've been without Miller.
Without Jam Miller. He's back now.
He is. So the run game's been a little better with him being back.
But still not the numbers. So far, they're averaging to throw for 305 per game. 51% third down conversion rate for Alabama. 10 of 16 on fourth down.
Super aggressive.
Super aggressive. Inside the 20 touchdowns, 28 red zone attempts. So about like Tennessee's, frankly. Pretty close. Alabama averaging 34.8 points per game, giving up just 17.3 points per game. Total defense, Alabama, 293. 157 rushing, 137 passing. Now, they have not played a lot of really good passing teams.
Correct.
So teams have not tried to throw it a lot on them, and that has affected some things as we get further into the numbers. Opponents inside the 20 scoring touchdowns, 8 touchdowns in 12 red zone attempts. So they've been pretty good there. Opponent third down conversions, 38%. Opponent fourth down conversions, 5 out of 9. So, okay. Penalties per game, 6 for 43. That's discipline. Punt return, 11.6 per punt return, 16.8 per kickoff return. 5.5 allowed on punt returns, 19 yards per kickoff return allowed. Here's a strange one. Alabama has 9 quarterback sacks. They've allowed 13. Now you would say, well, that's alarming. But teams haven't thrown a lot against Alabama for them to really sack the quarterback. And Alabama has thrown a lot.
Yes, they have.
So you would figure, not surprising, that Ty Simpson and whomever else has been in the game would get sacked more. Turnover ratio. Alabama +9. They have 11 takeaways. They have thrown 1 interception, and they have lost 1 fumble this year. Alabama plays clean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's impressive.
Yeah, the +9 is that is the stat to me when you talk about how are you where you're at. I mean, when you're +9, you can erase a mistake that you have. You can, teams are giving you the ball, they're giving you points. That's a huge number for them at this point in the season to be +9.
And only 2 turnovers
yourself
in 6 games.
Yep. Yeah, play clean football, play good football.
I mean, Tennessee has 2 turnovers, unfortunately, on punt return alone.
Right.
So, I mean, that tells you, where Tennessee is statistically is more normal, than that's what most teams are like at this point in the year.
Well, let me give you some national rankings for Tennessee. I don't have Alabama's. This is just Tennessee's. I'm stealing this from Adam Sparks of the News Sentinel. Number 1 scoring offense.
Yes.
Number 2 offense in TFL's allowed. So they've allowed the second fewest tackles for loss. They're number 3 in first downs. They're 4th nationally in total offense. They're 7th in pass offense. They're 8th in sacks allowed. They're 10th in explosive plays. Defensively, they're number 1 in the nation in sacks. They're number 1 in the nation in forced fumbles. They're number 2 in the nation in fumble recoveries, number 2 in defensive touchdowns, and number 5 in tackles for loss. That's where they are nationally.
And yet,
they're giving up too many explosive plays, and they've been in high-scoring, one-possession games in the final minutes of every SEC game they played.
Well, Alabama loses the opener at Florida State, 31-17, and they got pushed around in that game. They come back against Louisiana Monroe and get well, winning 73-0. Get even better, beating Wisconsin 38-14, and then go to Georgia and pull an incredibly impressive road win, 24-21. Come home and beat Vanderbilt 30-14 in a game that was closer than that. It was 14-14 at the half. And then they go to Missouri and hang on. Missouri had a great opportunity to get in field goal range. Missouri's quarterback missed an open receiver and ended up throwing an interception on a ball that would have put them in field goal range. But again, Alabama not making the mistakes in any of these games, not opening the door for the opposition. And because they're not opening the door, they've won 5 straight.
Yep, they have. And I think the other reminder to everybody is that this is what this league's about. It's a play here, it's a play there. Missouri makes a play, they're in field goal range. If Kirby Smart kicks the field goal and ties the game instead of going for it on 4th down, what does that become in that game on the road? If he's got a tie game in the 4th quarter there with the amount of time that they have left. That's why it's hard to figure. Nobody's running and hiding in this league. They're just not. Nobody's going to run away and hide from anybody and say, hey, we're the best. Nobody can play with us. That's just not what this league's going to be about Saturday in and Saturday out. It's just too balanced. There's too much parity. It's hard to win on the road. Night games make it even harder to win on the road. All of those things factor in.
Ty Simpson completing 71% of his passes for 1,678 yards, 16 touchdowns.
Playing well. Playing really well. Really, really well.
Bernard at wide receiver, 28 catches for 412, 5 touchdowns. Horton, 21 for 270 and 4 touchdowns. And Ryan Williams, who's been battling a bit of a hamstring, still 21 catches, 336 and 3 touchdowns. Jam Miller is back running the ball, is averaging 4.6 a carry. He's only played in 3 games. He has a touchdown. Kevin Riley averaging 4.2 a carry, 184 yards. Simpson, 40 rushes for 58 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he will run. He's not the runner certainly Taylon Green is, but he's more athletic than he probably gets credit for.
When you wonder, given what you watch the Tennessee tape against Arkansas, does Alabama put in a couple of quarterback runs this week? Do they design run something for him as opposed to a scramble? I don't know. Because most of his runs have just been scramble plays where it just kind of leaks out.
But the question about that is, why would you go, if you're them, why would you go away from what's worked?
Well,
I mean, they did throw to an offensive tackle for a touchdown, so they will do.
I'm just saying, do you put it in case you're looking for something and you need something? Because your rushing totals have not been as good as a lot of people think they would be. When you look at a way to attack Tennessee, certainly you're going to think middle of the field, but do you look at Tennessee's defense and say, you know what, maybe we have that in our arsenal in case we need something for a first down play. You're not going to run him a bunch because that's not who he is, and you don't want to take a chance on getting him hurt because you don't need to run him a lot. But do you have that more in your arsenal this week than you've had in previous weeks?
Alabama's only punted 12 times.
Mm-hmm. They're good.
Because they go on 4th down a bunch.
They do, and they're a good football team. I mean, there's
now,
no question.
Here's a question, though, is Connor Talty, their kicker, has missed 4 kicks.
And that may be why they go for it as much as they do.
That could be. Down. His long this year, long make, is he made from 46 twice. He's missed from 43, 47, 49, and 53. So that's something to consider. I'll say this, too. One more thing back to Saturday's Tennessee win over Arkansas that I think may have been a lost moment.
Okay.
Will you indulge me on this?
Absolutely.
Tennessee has 1st and 10 on the 17 of Arkansas early in the 3rd quarter.
Okay.
They get a personal foul penalty on Lance Hurd.
Mm-hmm.
backs him up. Then Bishop is tackled for -2 on a play where he slipped. It wasn't going to go anywhere anyway, I don't think, but he slipped. And then there was an incomplete pass followed by a dropped pass, which would have put Tennessee probably about the 12-yard line. 17-17 ball game. A penalty and a lack of execution, drop ball, has left you needing a 50-yard field goal. You call on Max Gilbert. And, you know, things have been a little tough on Max since the miss in the Georgia game at the end. Granted, missed one at Mississippi State. He comes in and he shoots the 50-yarder through like it's nothing. Mm-hmm. Big moment for him. Big moment right there for Tennessee to get points, to not come away from that drive empty, and for him to make the 50-yard kick. I wonder if that's a moment that will continue or will further keep him on track, because he's 10 of 12 on the year. And let's face it, we're just talking about Talty on the other side. Tennessee's going to need him.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing you know about Max is there's a mental toughness about him that he can clear what's the old, for the love of the game with Kevin Costner, clear the mechanism. Here's the guy that a year ago went through a 1-for-6 stretch and got it back in a big way and kicked it really well down the stretch of the season. So you know he can put stuff behind him. But I do think it's important for him to see a long one go through the uprights. I think it's important for him. I think it was important for Josh Heupel because you're making decisions when you're at 50 yards. What if it's 4th and 5? Do you feel like I need to go for it because I don't really trust my kicker, or do I believe in my kicker that he's going to make it? That reinforces your trust in your kicker when you make a 50-yard kick in a critical situation like that. That was a helter-skelter drive anyway. The headsets aren't working.
Right.
Your head coach is calling plays. He can't really see a bunch of stuff because he doesn't have any vantage point from up top. He's just, kind of doing it on the fly down there. That was a big moment in the game for Tennessee to kind of weather that whole situation and then to deliver on a 50-yard kick when you had multiple negative plays that had just happened to put you in that spot. Yeah, that was a huge moment for everybody.
And does it show up Saturday night in Tuscaloosa?
You would hope. You would hope if he's called upon that kick carries him and continues to give him the confidence he needs to go out and deliver in a pressure situation on a big kick.
Alabama 6th, Tennessee 11th. Both are 5-1. That's an in-depth look at the Vols' next opponent, the Alabama Crimson Tide, with the Built Ford Tough Report, brought to you by your local Ford dealer. Tennessee football and the Ford F-150 Tough runs in our family. Your local Ford dealer, proud sponsor of the Tennessee Volunteers. More of your text questions when we return at 865-657-1278. Big Orange Rewind, presented by Calhoun's, a taste of Tennessee.
Big Orange Rewind on the Vol Network.
Sponsored by Food City, the official supermarket and tailgating headquarters of the Vols. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Tennessee. Complete coverage for every phase of life. Alumni Hall, the ultimate volunteer shopping experience. By Farm Bureau Insurance of Tennessee, the official insurance of the Vols. Tennessee Insurance for Tennessee Life. Co-op, proudly supplying your rural lifestyle in Big Orange Country. And by UT Medical Center, the official healthcare provider of the Vols and all of Vol Nation.
In this town, we don't just root for the team. We are the team. We rise before the sun, stay long after the lights go out. We are Big Orange Country. And with this team stands another, UT Medical Center. We heal the hurt, fuel the comeback, keep Vol Nation stronger, tougher, together, with care that never lets up. UT Medical Center, official healthcare provider of the Vols, and all of Vol Nation.
This October, Protrition Feeds, manufacturer of Co-op and Cumberland Mills branded feeds, is proud to partner with your co-op and stand with the Susan G. Komen Foundation. Be on the lookout for the pink feed tags because your livestock feed purchase will fight breast cancer in October. Protrition Feeds will donate to Susan G. Komen for every pink tag feed sold, helping raise awareness and fund life-saving research, advocacy, and care. Learn more at your local co-op. Together with farm families, employees, and co-op communities across our region this October, we feed strong, fight strong.
Natural gas is building a brighter future for Tennesseans, powering the places where we live, work, and grow. It's more affordable than electricity and cleaner than other conventional energy sources. Natural gas makes every meal easier, delivering precision and speed in the kitchen. From your grill to your appliances, natural gas is there, keeping your life moving. And natural gas is the energy behind Tennessee's thriving industries.
Natural gas.
Tennessee pride runs deep from Neyland Stadium to the family farm. At Farm Credit Mid-America, we stand behind the Tennessee farmers who feed and fuel our nation, just like we cheer for the Vols on game day. Because we understand that whether you farm every day, only on the weekends, or simply enjoy time on property outside of town, we have loans to fit your needs. Because farming matters, and so does every play, every harvest, every heartbeat of Tennessee. Learn how Farm Credit Mid-America serves the great state of Tennessee at FCMA.com. Loan subject to credit approval. Additional terms and conditions may apply. Farm Credit Mid-America is an equal opportunity lender.
The Ball Network's Big Orange Rewind continues. Presented by Calhoun's.
If you need a haircut with great clips and their app, you can put your name on the list from anywhere and head to the salon when you're up next. Because getting a great haircut shouldn't mean putting your life on hold. Great clips. It's going to be great. Brent Hubbs, championship weekend at Neyland Stadium on Saturday. A lot of individual champions, a lot of championship teams. Most impressively, Doug Dickey at 93. Just walked out there like Coach Dickey.
Oh, I ran the sideline like Coach Dickey. Like, not physically run, but like walked out, and it's like, oh, okay. Everybody looks around like, Coach Dickey's here. I'm looking at David Cutcliffe. He's like, hey, Coach Dickey's here. Like, everybody's still the same way when Doug Dickey walks in. The presence of Doug Dickey is pretty phenomenal and has always been.
It was phenomenal seeing him, seeing members of the 85 team, members of the 90 team. Just a very exciting time overall. I think that's turned into a great tradition. Pilot sponsored the championship weekend, and I know everybody was very appreciative.
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool to get a bunch of people in from a bunch of different eras and a bunch of different sports and watch them all kind of interact and talk to each other, you know. And so you had Allen Houston on the sideline, and he's talking to football players, you know, and then he's talking to Rick Barnes, and, you know, then here's Eric Berry walks in, and then all of a sudden you look up and there's members of the 85 team, you know, Kelly Ziegler and those guys are all hanging around and they're telling stories, and everybody's interested regardless of what era you played in. You know, whether you were on the 90 team or the 85 team or you played football here in 05, you're having conversations about your experience at Tennessee. So I think it's a great thing that they've done. The tailgate that they had in the complex on Saturday, people everywhere. Just some of them were eating, but a lot of people were just standing around talking and catching up. It was really cool.
All right, John and Dandridge with a text question for Brent Hubbs. Since Ty Simpson can throw it, Ty Simpson being Alabama's quarterback, can we get a rundown on our personnel on the back end and who needs to step up? You want to talk about the secondary a little bit?
Yeah, sure. You know, I think obviously Colton Hood's playing really well, and you know where he's at and what he's got going on. You know, Ty Redmond is a freshman, and he's having some good moments, and he's having some freshman moments. And I think you would like for him to tighten up some things if he could in terms of coverage. But these are two talented receivers that Tennessee's going to be going up against this week. But I think the bigger issue and the bigger concern you have is what's going on in the middle of the field, and that's your safety play with Andre Turrentine and Idris Farouk. Sidney Walton got in the game early, and they got him in.
13 snaps?
13 snaps. And most of them were early. They didn't play him a lot in the fourth quarter, but you wonder how much they're going to continue to force that as he passed Caleb Beasley. He played ahead of Caleb Beasley yesterday. Really, they're struggling to find a third and fourth safety right now. Their comfort level and trust is in two safeties. and both those safeties can certainly play better than they've been playing. And then at the star position, you're playing Jalen McMurray and Boo Carter, and that's kind of where you are right now with your secondary. Everybody else is kind of young and trying to figure it out. They have to be better in zone coverage in general, and that includes the linebacker level as well. They've got to get to their drops better. They've got to field it better. They've got to understand things better. They've got to pass things off better. The holes in zone are just too big, and that's why Tennessee's given up the third longs that they've given up, in my opinion. They've got to tighten up those windows in zone.
All right, so Edwin Spielman will not play in the first half due to the targeting, correct?
That's correct.
So you've got Arion Carter at linebacker, Jeremiah T. Lander at linebacker, and then after that, I guess Ben Bolton would be next?
I think that's where you would go. Now, the question is, what do you do with Jaden Perlotti?
Well, Jaden Perlotti got 9 snaps, recovered the fumble.
Made a heck of a play on and tackling
sure did.
Tylen Green when he got out of the box. I mean,
looked like that was going to go.
Oh yeah. I mean, Green was shocked that he got there and tackled him. You could see on the replay he kind of looked like, where'd this guy come from? Because he thought he had the corner on him
all the way on the other side of the field, basically. Harmon.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there. Not seeing a whole lot. Seen him on special teams, but William N said after the Georgia game, "Hey, I should have played him in the Georgia game to spell some of those starters and not put as many snaps on him." We've not seen him play really since then like we thought we would.
Jordan Burns
is getting some, play. I think the thing with Jordan Burns is just consistency.
And at the Leo, obviously Joshua Josephs, who, by the way, was not credited with a sack on the forced fumble where he hit Taylon Green in the pocket. And it's a rules interpretation. So he hit him in the pocket. And the ball goes forward. It's recovered at the 19-yard line by Perlotti. Because the ball advanced past the line of scrimmage, it is not a sack.
No, not only is it not a sack, it is positive rushing yards for Green.
Right. He gets +2.
And then a fumble
recovery. So it's not even a tackle for loss.
Nope.
And very strange because he would have 5 sacks. Instead, he's only got 4, but he has 3 forced fumbles. And let me tell you, if you're at the next level and you're evaluating him, you're saying, yeah, we get it. It's fine.
you're not bothered by that.
No, you're saying, Joshua, just keep doing that.
Yeah.
Keep knocking guys loose from the ball, and that'll be fine.
Think about how, and that's a technique thing. And you've been at practice, they do that drill every day when they warm up, knocking the ball out of a tackling dummy, swinging that arm the way they have. Think about the number of times Tennessee's done that this year. Tyree West, Joseph has done it twice. Nathan Robinson did it in the first game. They have done a really good job of using that arm and kind of swinging that hammer down, so to speak, to knock the ball. Jordan Ross had one to knock the ball out of the quarterback's hands. They have played that technique that is ingrained in them every day really, really well.
Here's a pretty good stat. Do you know how many Tennessee defensive linemen have a sack?
A bunch.
It's really interesting. Don Bailey, 3.5. Marion Dye has a half sack. Tyree West with 4. David Hobbs with 1. Nathan Robinson with 1.5. Jackson Moy with 0.5. Tyree Weathersby with 0.5. Isaiah Campbell with 0.5. And Charles House has a sack. Is that 11?
Yeah, I think that's 11.
That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. It's really good. I mean, that's why you have 26, because it's not one guy.
Well, that's it. I mean, you have 26, and you don't have one guy with 12.
Well, and you have them. I mean, you have some from the secondary. You have some from the linebacker position. But look at the number of defensive linemen that are getting home.
Right.
That's the key. That's why you want to be better in zone coverage on the back end, Mike, because you feel like you can get home with 4, so you don't have to blitz people.
Well,
so help them out in the back end.
And make them hold the ball one more count.
Mm-hmm.
So Joseph's with 4, Herring with 3, Jordan Ross with 1.5, Arion Carter with 1, Spielman with 1. Those are the linebackers. In the secondary, McMurray has 2, Boo Carter has 1. So they have gotten, getting the sacks out of the star position, also a good thing.
Well, Tim Banks loves that blitz. He loves that blitz off the star, out of the star position, off the slot receiver to the short side there. They like to bring that blitz a good bit. That's kind of been a mainstay of his defense. But they're getting production from a lot of different places. But again, you want to be able to get home with 4. And Tennessee's showing the ability to get home with 4. It's just when they don't, it ends up being a bad play for the Tennessee defense because they've not played it well enough in the back end.
All right, question about run defense. Are we getting out-schemed or are we getting out of our lanes? Average running backs are having career days against us. Also, why are we having so much trouble defending crossing routes? That's from Roger in Lewisburg.
Well, the crossing routes, middle of the field's been a challenge to begin from the get-go. I mean, I'm not sure why more teams don't throw crossing routes against everybody because you're asking a lot of times linebackers to do a lot of things unless you're playing man coverage. And if you're playing man coverage, you're running a lot of rub routes on those crossers. So I think defending the crossers are hard. You're hoping your linebackers and your star guy safety can rattle it loose or, make a guy leery about going across the middle there. For the run game, that's a great question. I think they've gotten out of their gap some. I thought on that opening drive and watching it back, I just thought they got blocked a lot. I didn't think they got off blocks very early in the game. I didn't think Tennessee got off blocks very well. I thought they got off their blocks better in the second half, but they're also giving up some gaps and getting themselves out of position. Sometimes there were a couple plays Jackson Moore got really vertical, and because of the penetration and the vertical he got, he created a gap in some ways because he was so far up the field.
Sometimes you can get up the field and beat your own you hurt yourself by being so good. That's true.
There are a couple of times interior defensive linemen did that. So I think it's a combination of things. I don't think it's all scheme. I don't think it's all bad eyes. I think it's kind of been a combination of things that have kind of played into that. And Tennessee has gotten better in the second half. They've made some nice adjustments. I don't know if they've simplified things or what, but they've been better in the second half than they have been to start games against the run. They do not need to let Alabama get the ground game going in this ball game on Saturday early on. That's not how you want to play this game.
Chad in Tellico Plains wants to know, halfway through the season, most of the 26 recruiting class is set to sign in December. So what positions do you think Tennessee may look to in the portal for depth? And obviously we can only give kind of generic answers right now, but I do think it's an interesting question based on knowing what you're losing at some spots. And so what would you be looking for from an experience standpoint? I mean, I think you're always looking for a safety or a corner. I think you're always looking for depth, for experience depth in the secondary.
I think you're going to go pretty heavy in the transfer portal in the secondary, body-wise, because I think you look at what you're losing. When you brought Colton Hood in, you thought you were going to have Colton Hood for multiple years. I don't know that that's going to happen based on some mocks out there. So I think you've got to look corner. I think you've got to look safety in the transfer portal.
And star.
So you're going to have to go across the board there. Then I think it gets into a little bit more about maybe is somebody leaving? Where do you think you are with some guys and are they going to stay or are they going to leave in terms of the portal for depth purposes? What does it look like for them at offensive tackle from a depth standpoint? I don't know. What do they look like on the interior? Do they feel like they need an experienced body there or do they like what they have going on? So I think it starts for me, Mike. It starts with them in the secondary because I think they're thin there now. I think they're going to be thin there next year if they don't get some portal.
Well, and also because just guys due to graduate.
Right. That's what I'm saying. The seniors leaving, guys leaving for the league. I just think you're going to be thin across the board. That you're going to have to go get some experienced help back there.
Yeah, because Turrentine's gone, McMurray is gone, William Wright is gone. Who am I missing too? Somebody else. Oh, McCoy could be gone. Hood could be gone. Numbers-wise, you're always going to be looking for a pass rusher. You're always going to be looking for somebody skill-wise who can help you. Always.
Yeah, and I think there's a chance you look for an experienced interior defensive lineman too. A guy because you like Isaiah Campbell, you like Utley, but do you need a mature guy in there another version of a Jackson Moy, Mike, if you will, who could come in and kind of be your rock in there in a young group.
I mean, look at what Don Bailey's given you. Look at what Bryson Eason has given you. Look at what Tyree West has given you. Look at what Jackson Moy is giving you. They're seniors.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're playing so many snaps, and you like to play so many people. But I do think the thing that's really good about Tennessee's situation overall, 48 freshmen have played. 27 of those are true freshmen. That's really good news for your overall depth. You've recruited a big class. It's a good-looking class. I was checking out ratings because I don't have a life. Well, you know, I kind of like the old recruiting thing a little bit. Tennessee's consensus top 10. You go across the board, it's a top 10 recruiting class. It's a really good class. There's still, it looks like they have already figured out as a personnel department with the thoughts of the coaching staff and head coach Josh Heupel, they have figured out how to do this, meaning they have figured out how to fill holes with the portal, but they're not going out and getting 31 transfers like what Arkansas did.
Mm-hmm.
They're getting guys who it's more surgical. And so they're able to pick fits, and they're able to know where their budget is, and we see players developing in the system. It feels like the programs that are really going to be good going forward in the portal NIL world are the ones that build from home and add from the outside where need be.
Yeah, I think that
it can't be one or the other.
No.
You are not going to be able to, not to interrupt, but you're not going to be able to do this by just recruiting.
Correct. But at the same time, too, I don't think you're going to be, from a developmental culture, sustaining success, that you're going to be able to go 30 portal people for 1 year. You know, the old free agent, the old John Gruden free agent, right?
Right.
A bunch of older guys on 1 year deals.
Like what George Allen used to do in Washington, where he wouldn't have a draft class.
Right.
It was all the old timers.
Yeah. But Tennessee has done a good job of getting quality help with the number of people that they brought in. But they've also done, and they did this past offseason more than they have in any other year. They bet on their youth.
Mm-hmm.
They bet on their recruiting. They said, you know what, we're going to invest, if we have to, back into our current team to hold this roster where we want it because we believe in this roster. It just means we're going to be young, and we're going to play some young guys in some spots, particularly on offense, but that's where we're going to go. We're not going to go with a bunch of portal guys over top of them and stunt their development. We're just going to tell you, you better be ready to play.
Well, they lose James Pierce, first-round pick. And who do they have playing Leo? Joshua Josephs. They recruited him.
Mm-hmm.
Caleb Herring.
Recruited him.
Jordan Ross.
Recruited him.
Christian Gass now.
Mm-hmm. Recruited him. Who's going to be a good player?
He's going to be a good player.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a player, if you're taking the salary cap method with NIL, that edge pass rusher is somebody you're going to have to pay. You would rather pay somebody you'd recruited more each year, pay your group, and develop them, than you would have to go out and shell out a bunch of money to find somebody because you don't have them.
That's correct. And those positions that you're talking about, if you've got to go get them, they're going to cost you a lot of money. They're going to cost you more money than they're probably worth because there's a desperation deal. There's a leveraging, hey, this school's offering this, whatever. And all of a sudden now somebody's in real desperate need of one and they overpay for somebody.
That's why Ty Redmond's so important.
Yes.
Yes, he's a freshman. And yes, he's having to grow through it to a certain extent. But he's yours. You brought him in. You're developing him. He becomes a cog in your program, whereas they had to go out and get Jermod McCoy. And they had to go out and get Colton Hood. And that's great because, man, they've hit it on both of those guys. But yet, that's hard to do. Man, that's hard to do.
You don't want to live. And
you don't want to live in that
world.
world.
And this is the debate that comes up right now in recruiting from a big picture standpoint. How do you manage the quarterbacks? Do you pay a lot of money on the front end for a high school kid to come in, or do you go live in the portal? Which way do you do it? And the reality is there are some transfer quarterbacks that are playing really well.
Sure.
There are some transfer quarterbacks that it doesn't go well. There's some lower-ranked high school kids that are playing really well. There's some high-ranked high school kids that are going to be just fine. There's also some high-ranked high school kids that it hasn't gone too well. There's no right answer to it.
That's right.
That's the challenge that head coaches have in this era, just that position and other positions of managing.
Because you could say, theoretically, we're not going to sign a 5-star high school quarterback.
Correct.
We're not even going to sign a 4-star high school quarterback. We're going to sign a 3-star, pay him less, see if we can develop him, because, oh, by the way, we're going to go out and sign a portal quarterback every year. We're going to sign the best portal quarterback we can every single year and not worry about getting into the race of a 5-star. Theoretically, you could say that.
You could.
Is that smart?
Some places where they've not done well in transfer quarterbacks would tell you, no, that's not smart. Other places where they've hit on transfer quarterbacks, so you know what? That makes a lot of sense.
It makes a lot of sense.
It depends on kind of where you are. It depends on what you see in the quarterback talent out there that you can get involved in. But there is no right answer or wrong answer.
Right.
But if you get it wrong, we know what the repercussions of that is. It's the same thing the NFL's dealing with.
Sure.
The free agent quarterback you pay big money to, boy, if you get it right, that's great. If you don't, man, it don't go. Same way with the draft pick.
I'm here to tell you, this is free agents.
It's absolutely 100. The difference is it's every year.
The difference is that there are no 3-year, 4-year, 5-year contracts.
That's exactly right. Not right now.
I think they'll change that.
We'll see where that goes with collective bargaining.
You know, we got to take a break.
That's a topic for another show.
You know, we got to take a break.
You're in charge.
Sort of. Big Arch Rewind. A lot of theories on here. If you like a good theory, we got all your theories. Here's a theory you need to know about Calhoun's. This is not a theory. This is a fact. It's awesome. 9 area locations in the Knoxville area, including inside Neyland Stadium. I could go for some Calhoun's right now. They are the presenting sponsor of Big Orange Rewind.
Hey fans, it's Coach Heupel. On the field, every play adds up in a long drive. Life works the same way. Whether you're building a home, raising a family, or running a small business, it takes consistency and a strong team behind you. That's why I turned to Farm Bureau Insurance of Tennessee. Just like our team, they're built for the long drive. Farm Bureau Insurance of Tennessee. Tennessee Insurance for Tennessee Life. Get a free quote at FBITN.com.
Tennessee fans, your game day isn't complete without Calhoun's. Whether you're inside Neyland Stadium for the game or tailgating on campus or at home, Calhoun's has you covered with shareable small bites, family feed packs, and party platters. Imagine your tailgate piled high with hickory smoked ribs, tender pulled pork, and that famous barbecue chicken. The best of Tennessee on one plate. Call ahead or order online and make your game day legendary. Calhoun's, a taste of Tennessee.
At the University of Tennessee, the Vols are known for competing at the highest level on the field, the court, and the diamond. And just like the Vols, Food City excels at everything too. They've got in-store butchers carving up certified Angus beef, fresh local produce, a full-service bakery, Fuel Bucks rewards, and one of the best beer and wine selections in town. Food City, the official supermarket of the Vols, and your home for everything Tennessee.
UT fans know it takes teamwork to win. And when you choose Blue Cross Blue Shield of Tennessee, you get a team who served Tennesseans for 80 years. From babies to seniors, big needs to small, we offer health coverage that fits your life and your budget. All from a company right here in your community. Now that's what we call a big win. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Tennessee.
This is Big Orange Rewind, presented by Calhoun's.
Fans, the beef sweepstakes are back. Food City and your local cattle farmers are ready to fire up the perfect combination, beef and football. Every time you purchase a fresh beef product using your Food City Value Card, you'll automatically be registered to win a pair of tickets to see the Vols take on Oklahoma November 1st. You bring the appetite. We'll serve up the game only from Food City and your local cattle farmers. Contest ends October 19th. That would be 1 week from Sunday. So this coming Sunday.
Yes.
The next Sunday.
Yes.
From now. Right?
That would be correct.
That would be correct?
That would be correct.
Thank you so much for getting me into that.
Math's hard.
Yes. Going to find out the exact night time for Tennessee, Kentucky.
And I'm not having to play this game this week because it's a night game, and we're done.
Yes.
It's a night game.
But do you think it's an early
It's
night?
a night game. It doesn't matter. It's a night game.
And what will you be wearing
It
at
depends.
Kroger Field in Lexington? Will
just
you be
depends.
wearing some sort of parka?
It's way too early on the 2-week forecast here, so I'm not in that mode yet. I brought extra gear yesterday just in case.
Was it a little chilly at the end?
No, it actually wasn't. It was really pleasant. It was a great day to play football on Saturday. I mean, a great day to play football. The wind settled down and it wasn't overly hot. It was a perfect October football day.
This coming weekend, Texas A&M is at Arkansas. Missouri is at Auburn.
Auburn, was that 3 top 10 teams in a row for them?
Yes.
Oklahoma, A&M, Georgia, and now Missouri.
Yes.
I think there was an open date in there for them.
Yes. Mississippi State at Florida. It's an interesting game.
State better find a way to win that one if they're going to get bowl eligible. They're going to have to win something somewhere along the way here if they're going to get to 6. When you look at their schedule, that's an important game for State. How does
and for Billy Napier, it's not.
I mean, they're all at this point. You know, can he resuscitate it? I don't know. He's got the 1 win over Texas, but I mean they played pretty well.
Oh, sure.
At A&M, but at this point, I'm not sure well is enough. You got to win some games, so you better not drop that one at the house for sure.
Ole Miss at Georgia.
Woo. That one will be a.
Didn't Ole Miss beat Georgia last year?
They did, in Oxford. Ole Miss got after Georgia up front.
As much as Lane Kiffin got after the students and the fans after the game, after the Washington State win on Saturday?
It wasn't happy.
Wow.
Wasn't happy. But a year ago, Georgia's offensive line struggled mightily in that game, which is why Tennessee fans had so much confidence with Tennessee going down there because you really thought they could get after Carson Beck. And Georgia's offensive line played well. Tennessee couldn't get enough pressure on him.
Carson Beck played the game of his life.
He got hot
while he was at Georgia.
Yeah, he got hot. He got off to a bad start, and then he got in a rhythm and got hot. And there we go. But I mean, that was an Ole Miss team that was clearly looking ahead against Washington State on Saturday.
Texas at Kentucky. LSU at Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt a favorite?
I hadn't seen. Oklahoma at South Carolina.
What's Oklahoma doing at quarterback?
John Mateer.
Yeah, he looked like a quarterback who had a hurt hand when he was playing.
I understand.
On Saturday.
Tennessee at Alabama. 7:30 Eastern Time kickoff. Ball Radio Network on the air at 5 Eastern Time.
I mean, it's a great game. I mean, you love everything about this game. Roll it out there and go play. Both these teams
5-1
have some good things about them. Both of these teams have some concerns about them. Josh Heupel's done a good job moving the ball against Alabama. Tennessee's going to have to play better defensively. Ty Simpson's playing well. Joey Aguilar's playing well for Tennessee. This got the looks that it might have a lot of points in it.
Could. Have you seen the weather forecast for Tuscaloosa on Saturday?
It looks nice.
Does it?
Yeah, last I saw. Has it changed?
I don't know.
Oh,
I was waiting.
Last I saw, I would not need a parka. I would not need any heavy gear. This looks like it's going to be a great night for football.
You hope.
Yeah.
We'll try to sneak in a couple more of your text questions when we return. 865-657-1278. That's the text line. Big Orange Rewind presented by Calhoun's.
Today's Big Orange Rewind, sponsored by
First Horizon Bank, Big Bank Solutions, Small Bank Spirit, the official bank of the Vols. Swaggerty's Farm Sausage, quite possibly the best tasting sausage in America. by the Tennessee Fund. Join the My All campaign today at IWillGiveMyAll.com. Rackley Roofing, the official roofer of the Vols. And by Ford. Visit your local Ford dealer. Proud sponsor of the Tennessee Volunteers.
There are big banks with large capital resources, and there are small banks that go above and beyond. And there's a bank in Tennessee that offers both. You guessed it, First Horizon. They're big enough to offer tailored solutions to help retail and business customers, but small enough to maintain that personal touch. No opportunity too big, no detail too small. First Horizon, big bank muscle, small bank hustle, and the official bank of the Vols.
It's football time in Tennessee, and that means it's time for Calhoun's. Whether you're headed to the game or watching from home, make Calhoun's your pregame, postgame, and every game headquarters. From hickory smoked pulled pork to the legendary ribs, juicy burgers, and mouthwatering brisket, Calhoun's delivers the flavor that fuels Big Orange fans. With 9 convenient East Tennessee locations, there's a Calhoun's near you. So gather your friends, wear your orange, and experience why they're the taste of Tennessee. Calhoun's, proud to serve Vol fans since 1983.
Vol fans, ready to score big on your next home? Clayton Homes, Oakwood Homes, and Love Homes are proud sponsors of Tennessee Athletics and proud to help you find your dream home. Whether you're a first-time buyer or looking for your forever home, their teams across Tennessee have your back. With 29 locations statewide and Energy Smart Homes designed for year-round savings and a lifetime of comfort, it's never been easier to make the move. Stop by today and see why so many families and Vol fans trust Clayton, Oakwood, and Love Homes to turn home ownership into a win.
Tennessee fans, the Vol Shop has everything you need to support the Big Orange. With a 15,000 square foot store in the Student Union and other locations on Cumberland Avenue, in the University Commons, and inside Neyland Stadium. The Vol Shop is stocked full of official gear and exclusive apparel. The Vol Shop is your go-to retailer for Tennessee merchandise. If you can't make it to campus, shop online at utvolshop.com and be sure to follow them on social media. The Vol Shop, the official campus store of the University of Tennessee.
Week ahead. The final analysis on This Week. Big Orange Rewind. Presented by Calhoun's.
Time for another text question at 865-657-1278. Running back Deshaun Bishop had an outstanding game on Saturday. It looked like Tennessee was steering away from a running back rotation in the second half and staying with the hot hand of Bishop until he got hurt. Is that a fair assessment? That comes from Kevin in Columbia, Tennessee.
Yeah, I think so. And that's what Darrell Sims has said all off season, that they would, they were going to play all those guys because they had belief in all of them. But if somebody got hot, they were going to ride the hot hand. And Deshaun Bishop was hot out of the gate and stayed that way. And I think they were riding him. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
How do you feel about injury situation with he and Staley and others?
Yeah, we'll see. Staley came back into the game at the end. Now they didn't throw a ball there, but he was on the field, so he was cleared to come back in. So that's a positive. We'll see if there's any fallout this week from that. But that was an upper body deal that he seemed okay. Bishop got that thing taped up. He was trying to go, and he came out of the tent with it taped up and did a little jogging on the side and tried to get going, but just couldn't push off and do what he wanted to do with it. So I'm sure it's sore today. We'll see. I mean, he left obviously under his own power the whole time. They didn't go to the locker room, didn't have crutches. They didn't immediately put ice on it or anything crazy like that. So we'll see. I mean, it's hard for running backs to play with sprained ankle, though. But we'll see how it recovers this week. I'm sure it'll be very limited. We'll see what the injury report looks like on Wednesday. And I'm not saying that because that's coach speak, but I think because of the way Tennessee practices, and B, what he can do, you're going to take that as far as you can take it from a rest standpoint.
Well, and the other part of it too is you generally don't know about ankles for 48 hours.
Correct.
Anybody who's ever had any sort of ankle injury will tell you it's generally about 48 hours after the fact where you get the full effect. What it's going to be, how you can come back from it, things of that sort.
Yeah, and the medical staff who spent a lot of time with him in and out of the tent at one point they were looking at video on their phones of the play to get an aerial view of just kind of what happened, how he's got his leg under it, to make sure they were looking in all the right places at everything based on what Deshaun was describing and what the play looked like.
General Manager of the Vol Network is Brandon Park, Executive Director Glenn Thaxton, Director of Business Development Josh Payros, Special Advisor Steve Early, Account Executives Chuck Arnold, Kevin Ashmos, Ben Bates, Nick Bell, Savannah Chalfant, Brandon Lane, Jessica Leifheit, Spencer Rudder, Chris Wagner, Technical Director Tim Barry, Network Engineer Jay Leifert, Network Producer Eli Davis, Associate Director of VFL Films Ashley Farrell and Travis Dean, Director of Radio Projects Larry Stone. For Brent Hubbs, I'm Mike Keith, inviting you to join us from Tuscaloosa, 5 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Central, Big Orange Countdown before Tennessee and Alabama at Bryant-Denny.
Big Orange Rewind.
Presented by Calhoun's, a taste of Tennessee. Calhoun's is the perfect place to rewind after every Tennessee game.
Rewind one more time to this weekend's action. Catch the podcast at utsports.com. Big Orange Rewind. We are the Vol Network.